Everyone talks about business plans, financial projections, and marketing funnels. But almost nobody's asking, what strategy did God use to build wealth? Here's the truth they won't tell you in business school. The wisest and wealthiest man who ever lived, Solomon, didn't follow modern hustle culture. He didn't grind for 16 hours a day, chase trends, or worship profit margins. He followed a divine blueprint, and that blueprint wasn't just about how to build wealth, but why. If your Christian business feels heavy, directionless, or disconnected from your faith, you're not alone. Many entrepreneurs build success only to find their soul bankrupt. But Solomon's story flips the script. It shows that when you align your business with kingdom principles, money becomes a tool, not a trap, and purpose becomes profit. So if you've been praying for clarity, confirmation, or a strategy that actually honors God, this might be the divine turning point you've been waiting for. Wisdom before gold. Why Solomon asked for understanding, not money. When God appeared to Solomon in a dream and offered him anything he wanted, Solomon didn't ask for gold, power, or fame. He asked for wisdom. That decision wasn't just noble, it was strategic. Solomon understood something most entrepreneurs miss. Money is a result, not a foundation. Without wisdom, money multiplies problems. With wisdom, even a little resource can multiply. In Christian business, we don't chase money. We chase divine insight. Think about this. What would happen if you asked God for deep understanding before asking for profit? A godly business is built on discernment, the ability to know when to act, when to wait, and when to walk away. Proverbs 4:7 says, "Wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom." That's not poetry. That's a command for entrepreneurs. You can have capital, but without clarity, you'll burn through it fast. In practical terms, wisdom looks like this. You read before you invest. You pray before you hire. You study the market before you launch. You ask God to show you why you're building, not just what you're building. For example, before investing in a new product, ask yourself, does this align with my kingdom assignment? If not, no ROI is worth it. And here's where it gets interesting. Because once Solomon had wisdom, God gave him everything else too. Wealth, honor, peace with his enemies. Things most people run after, Solomon attracted. So the question becomes, if understanding came first for the richest man in history, what should come first in your entrepreneurial journey? The principle of multiplication, how Solomon turned resources into wealth. Solomon didn't just receive wealth, he knew how to multiply it. His reign is marked by exponential growth in trade, infrastructure, and influence. But here's the secret. He didn't rely on miracles. He relied on systems. He set up shipping routes, established international trade, and built efficient supply chains. That's how a godly business grows, not just through spiritual fervor, but through intentional structure and wise management of what God already placed in your hands. In 1 Kings 10:22, we read that Solomon had a fleet of ships bringing in gold, silver, ivory, and even apes and peacocks every 3 years. Now ask yourself, what kind of business system do you need to coordinate that level of import-export? That's not luck, that's multiplication. Most Christian entrepreneurs want divine favor but haven't built a structure to receive the overflow. God can't multiply what you're not stewarding wisely. This principle applies today. Let's say you're running a small Christian business, maybe a faith-based clothing brand or a coaching program. The moment you create a repeatable process, like an automated order system or a digital lead funnel, you've stepped into Solomon's multiplication mindset. It's not about working harder, it's about working wiser. Multiplication happens when excellence meets consistency, and just like Solomon, once you master the principle of multiplying what you already have, doors begin to open. Partnerships show up, opportunities align, wealth flows. Not just to your business, but through it. But here's the catch. Before the wealth grows, you must grow. And that's exactly what we'll explore in the next layer of Solomon's strategy. The influence of the kingdom. Why a godly business blesses the whole nation. Solomon's wealth wasn't isolated. It elevated the entire nation of Israel. During his reign, silver became as common as stones. 2 Chronicles 9:27. That's what happens when a Christian business aligns with kingdom principles. Its impact spills over. A godly business doesn't just grow the owner's bank account. It creates jobs, inspires excellence, and raises the standard for everyone connected to it. Kingdom influence transforms economies, not just individuals. When you run a business with God at the center, you're not just building profit, you're building legacy. Solomon used his influence to construct the temple, a project that not only glorified God but also united the people and attracted the attention of the world. Think of your business like a modern-day temple. Does it invite others into an encounter with God through the way you serve, communicate, and lead? That's how you turn influence into impact. Take Chick-fil-A, for example. Whether you agree with every detail of their model or not, their God-centered values have made waves in the marketplace. They've created jobs, supported communities, and remained closed on Sundays to honor God, and yet, they outperform competitors. That's kingdom economics in motion. Influence, when stewarded in obedience, becomes a blessing to many. So the next time you pray for business growth, don't just ask for money, ask for impact. Ask that your influence would be multiplied for the good of others and for the glory of God. Because when your business becomes a conduit of blessing, heaven has every reason to keep pouring into it. And as we'll see next, that only works when your why is bigger than your wallet. Business with purpose. How Solomon saw money as a tool for mission. Solomon never saw wealth as the end goal. For him, money was a tool, a means to fulfill God's vision for his life and his people. That's the true heart of a Christian business, using resources not just for comfort but for calling. Ecclesiastes 5:19 says, "When God gives someone wealth and possessions, and the ability to enjoy them, this is a gift of God." But notice, the focus isn't the riches, it's what you do with them. Solomon used his resources to build the temple, to establish peace, and to create a society that reflected God's order. Today, a godly business should function the same way. Whether you're running a bakery, a tech firm, or a real estate group, ask yourself, is my money-building mission or just maintenance? Purpose changes how you handle profit. It redefines success, from survival to significance. Let's be practical. Say your business is making consistent revenue. What would it look like to set aside 10% not just for tithe, but for community transformation? Maybe it's funding Bibles in rural villages. Maybe it's paying for mentorship programs in urban schools. When you attach mission to your money, your business becomes a platform for eternal results, not just economic ones. And the beauty is this: when you make God's priorities your priorities, provision follows. Matthew 6:33 isn't just a verse for church. It's a strategy for business. Seek first the kingdom, and all these things will be added. And now, with mission in place, we move to the next layer that fueled Solomon's unstoppable success: the pursuit of excellence. Excellence and prestige, the standard of quality for a Christian entrepreneur. When the Queen of Sheba visited Solomon, she was overwhelmed, not just by his wisdom, but by the excellence of everything around him. The food on his table, the organization of his staff, even the attire of his servants left her speechless. 1 Kings 10:4-5. That's what excellence does. It preaches without words. A godly business should radiate such excellence that it makes people curious about the God behind it. Excellence isn't about being flashy. It's about being intentional. It's about showing up every day with the mindset that what you're building represents something bigger than you. That email you send, it matters. That customer experience, it matters. Solomon didn't cut corners, and neither should you. Excellence creates trust, and trust creates influence, the kind that opens doors in both boardrooms and broken places. Today's marketplace is full of Christian entrepreneurs trying to compete by lowering prices or copying trends. But what if instead, we became known for raising the standard? Let your brand be synonymous with quality. Whether you're designing a logo, publishing content, or writing an invoice, ask, would I offer this to God? If not, raise it. That mindset alone can separate a Christian business from the noise. Here's the best part: excellence is contagious. When you operate at a high level, your team rises, your clients notice, and your results multiply. Solomon built prestige not through pride, but through principle. And once that foundation is strong, it sets the stage for something even greater. Partnerships led by purpose, not pressure. Strategic partnerships, the spiritual intelligence behind Solomon's alliances. Solomon didn't build an empire alone. He formed alliances, not out of fear, but from spiritual intelligence. One of his most notable partnerships was with King Hiram of Tyre, 1 Kings 5, who supplied cedar and craftsmen for the temple. This wasn't just business, it was destiny. A godly business knows that the right partners aren't just helpful, they're heaven sent. And when you partner with the right people, your impact multiplies beyond your capacity. Too many entrepreneurs build in isolation, believing they need to prove something. But Solomon teaches us that collaboration isn't weakness, it's wisdom. He surrounded himself with experts, advisors, and skilled laborers. Why? Because he knew that to build something eternal, he needed more than his own strength. A Christian business grows when it embraces partnership with those who complement, not compete. Let's say you're a Christian coach. You might have the vision, but someone else might have the platform, the audience, or the design skills to take it further. Don't let pride rob you of partnership. Pray about who God is aligning with your assignment. And if He's opening doors with people of integrity and excellence, walk through them boldly, just like Solomon did with Hiram. Partnership, however, requires discernment. Not every opportunity is a God opportunity. Solomon was wise with Hiram, but we'll soon see what happened when his discernment slipped. Before we go there, let's explore how Solomon sustained the blessings he built, because in business, starting strong isn't enough. Staying strong is where the real battle lies. Stewardship and sustainability. How a Christian business secures long-term impact. Solomon didn't just build fast, he built to last. His strategies were rooted in sustainability. He established systems for trade, governance, and worship that remained long after his projects were completed. That's a forgotten trait in modern business. A Christian business should never be a one-hit wonder. It should reflect the faithfulness of God, stable, resilient, and generational. Proverbs 13:22 reminds us, "A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children." Sustainability is spiritual. Sustainability means asking, can what I'm building survive without me? Can it scale? Will it serve others even when I'm gone? Solomon trained administrators, documented wisdom in Proverbs, and made sure his leadership didn't depend solely on charisma. Too many entrepreneurs burn out because they carry what should have been delegated. God gives vision, but He also blesses delegation. In practical terms, think of sustainability as systems. Automate client onboarding. Build savings for lean seasons. Train your team to operate in your absence. A godly business isn't fragile. It's rooted in wisdom and built to endure. Solomon knew that empires crumble when they depend on one person's energy. Longevity is the reward of obedience, not ambition. And here's where things get deeper. Because even with all this wisdom, sustainability only works when your decisions are aligned with divine timing. That's why the next piece of Solomon's blueprint is so important. Learning how to discern the difference between a good opportunity and a God opportunity. Discernment in decisions. What to do when opportunities seem too good. Solomon was known for his extraordinary discernment. He didn't make decisions based on appearances. He leaned on divine wisdom. In 1 Kings 3, he resolved a dispute between two women claiming the same child, not with emotion, but with discernment that exposed the truth. This same spiritual skill applies in business. A Christian business must operate with sharp discernment, because not every open door is from God and not every profitable deal is kingdom-aligned. In today's marketplace, you'll face shiny opportunities. Investors with deep pockets, viral trends promising quick cash, or partnerships with impressive credentials. But if you don't pause and pray, you might say yes to something that pollutes your purpose. Discernment asks the deeper question: will this move honor God or just grow my bank account? Proverbs 14:12 warns, "There is a way that seems right, but its end is the way of death." That includes business paths. For example, say you're offered a lucrative joint venture, but it requires compromising your values or overworking your family. It looks good, but is it God? This is where the Holy Spirit becomes your greatest business partner. Before saying yes, fast. Seek counsel. Let peace, not pressure, guide your decision. A godly business never trades alignment for acceleration. Solomon mastered this for a season, but even he had moments where discernment faded, and the consequences were costly. And that's exactly what we'll unpack next, the sober truth about what happens when even the wisest lose sight of the fear of the Lord. Wealth with responsibility. Why Solomon taught the fear of the Lord first. Before Solomon built palaces or trade routes, he built reverence. He understood that true wisdom begins with the fear of the Lord. Proverbs 9:10. That phrase isn't about being scared of God, it's about living in awe of Him. In a Christian business, this is foundational. If your pursuit of money outpaces your pursuit of God, you're building on sand. Wealth without worship leads to ruin. But when God is your foundation, prosperity becomes purpose-driven. Solomon didn't just teach fear of the Lord, he modeled it, especially early in his reign. He offered 1,000 burnt offerings at Gibeon, 1 Kings 3:4, demonstrating that before he asked for wisdom, he gave God his worship. That's not ritual, that's relationship. A godly business starts at the altar, not the algorithm. Daily prayer, tithing, integrity in hidden things. These are not optional. They're your spiritual infrastructure. Imagine two entrepreneurs with the same strategy. But one begins his day in scripture and surrender, while the other begins in anxiety and analytics. Which one do you think walks in kingdom favor? Exactly. Fear of the Lord brings clarity, confidence, and covering. It keeps your heart soft when success hardens others. It reminds you that you're not the source. You're the steward. And here's where the story takes a sharp turn. Because as Solomon grew in wealth, he began to drift from the very foundation that brought him there. That final chapter, though painful, might be the most important for any Christian entrepreneur to understand. So let's go there. When the heart drifts, the mistake that cost everything, and what to learn from it. Solomon had it all: wisdom, influence, unimaginable wealth. But over time, his heart began to drift. He married foreign wives who led him to worship other gods, 1 Kings 11:1-4. The man who once built the temple of the Lord was now building altars for idols. What happened? He lost his why. And when a godly business forgets its foundation, it becomes a business in name only, no longer aligned with heaven's economy. This wasn't an overnight failure. It was a slow erosion. A compromise here, a rationalization there. That's how the enemy works. Not with a wrecking ball, but with small cracks in character. Solomon didn't stop being wise. He stopped being anchored. And that's the warning for every Christian entrepreneur. No amount of success justifies disobedience. The moment the heart elevates money over mission, collapse is inevitable. So what do we learn? Guard your heart more than your margins. Set boundaries around your time, your relationships, your motives. Invite mentors who will challenge your blind spots. Revisit your why often. Pray Psalm 139:23. Search me, God, and know my heart. Let God expose anything that's veering off course before it takes root. A drifting heart leads to a divided legacy. But here's the redemptive truth. God's grace is stronger than your biggest mistake. If you've drifted, in business, in calling, in priorities, it's not too late to return. The same God who blessed Solomon at the beginning is ready to realign your heart. And with that renewed posture, you're ready to receive the full revelation of the blueprint He always intended for you. Now that you've seen the strategy God used to build wealth through Solomon, what will you do with it? Will this be just another inspiring message you forget by tomorrow? Or will it be the moment your mindset finally shifts, when you stop separating your faith from your finances? Because here's the truth. You don't need another business tactic. You need alignment. And when your Christian business aligns with kingdom principles, money begins to flow with purpose, and peace becomes your new normal. What would change if your business stopped being a burden and started becoming a ministry? What kind of impact could you create if you stopped building for success and started building from obedience? Will you keep waiting for the perfect moment? Or are you willing to take one step, even a small one, toward the plan God has already placed in your hands? Write in the comments, God, align my heart with your plan. And watch how this powerful declaration begins to shift the direction of your business and finances from this day forward. If this message touched your heart in any way, consider supporting our ministry through the link in the description. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can keep learning how to build wealth God's way, with faith, strategy, and purpose.